Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Ron, and today we're going to be going over the Coil Gun Overclocks and my opinions on them, how they work as of right now. This is still from the experimental build. The experimental actually just had an update today, which made my last video, the Shard Diffractor Overclock video, pretty much outdated instantly, because one of the unstable overclocks got changed, one of the balanced overclocks got changed into an unstable overclock, and then there was another balanced overclock that was added to the weapon. So now the Shard Diffractor no longer has 1 clean, 3 balanced, and 1 unstable. It has 2 unstable, 3 balanced, 1 clean, and 6 altogether rather than 5. With the Coil Gun, we have currently 1 clean, 3 balanced, and 2 unstable. So first up is the clean overclock. This is called Ultra Magnetic Coils. This gives you a longer trail and a bigger trail. So how the coil gun works is that it does 2 different damage types, kind of. When you fire the gun, it will hit something, just like a normal bullet, and will deal damage to it. However, it also leaves a trail behind it, which deals damage over time to any enemy that's standing inside of it. This goes for the entire length of that shot, so the larger the shot is, the easier it is to hit multiple enemies, and there are a couple advantages to having a bigger area like this, like the tier 5 mod where you can put electricity on this trail, so you can be zapping enemies that walk into it, which is really nice. This clean overclock is pretty great. If you like the coil gun, you're probably going to like this one. It feels like just a straight upgrade to it. It makes it feel like the coil gun has a little bit more AoE power to it. The AoE from the coil gun didn't feel incredibly powerful to me against normal enemies, but it was great for taking care of like swarmers that managed to get into it, and it was just kind of nice to have if you had the electricity on it. So no complaints for that one at all. No bugs for it that I'm aware of at the moment either, so that's great. So then we move on to our balanced overclocks. The first one is called Backfeeding Module. This one gives us much more ammo, but we lose damage. This I think can be offset by the tier 2 mod. Again, currently what the tier 2 mod is when you fully charge up the gun, the longer you have it fully charged, the more damage it will do, but you can't keep charging the gun, otherwise it will just kind of overheat or stop working, similar to how like the EPC does. So you do have to release it at a certain point. The damage drop off I think is enough to where you can no longer one-shot body shot grunts. You will still be able to one-shot headshot them, and I think you can still one-shot headshot slashers with this. So that's pretty nice, and I think if you take the extra damage, like I said in tier 2, it shouldn't change anything at all. This one felt alright. If you like using the coil gun a lot, it seemed pretty good. I'm sure there's some ways that you can build it that is going to be pretty strong. This was just my first impression, so I didn't try out all the builds and all the mods and everything like that with every single build. I will do that eventually and then be able to give you guys like some actual builds for this weapon. But right now, this one felt okay. It wasn't as impressive as like the clean one, but it wasn't a downside in any way, it felt like. Then we have our second balanced overclock, which is called the Mole. The Mole gives you more damage the more terrain it punches through, and this is the more different terrain that it can punch through. You also can punch through terrain better than you normally could. It actually goes quite a bit further than just the regular coil gun does, which is nice. The downside of this one is that it has a slower charge. The charge is not that big a deal because of the way that you're probably going to be using this, where you're trying to get behind things and having either yourself or your teammates ping enemies so that you can then shoot through different parts to hit the enemies. You can also do sort of a Swiss cheese technique, as people are kind of calling it now, where you sort of just dig a tunnel, blow holes through the walls, and then kind of dig out from there. It's almost like the standard bunker strat or the standard wall bunker strat with Driller, where you drill into the wall and then put a C4 and blow it up, and then kind of make the terrain more even. That way you can have enemies kind of funnel in there and you can fight them in that way. It's kind of like that, where you're just trying to blow holes through the sidewalls, essentially going into that driller tunnel, and then shoot through it so that you can go through multiple terrains to deal a lot of damage. And you can deal tons of damage to pretty much everything with it if you do that. It does feel like it's much more of a gimmick because of how much setup you have to do that. It is useful for just punching right through and hitting regular enemies, though. I find it pretty great for hitting Praetorians or Oppressors or really anything that's big, menaces, stuff like that. Anything that I can ping and then fire through. And then our last balanced overclock was the Reatomizer. This one makes it so you can spread ailments to enemies that you hit beyond the first enemy that you hit. So you have to shoot through one enemy so that you can hit other enemies and apply whatever ailment was on that enemy to those other ones. I did only try this with 2 different types of ailments, and that was incinerator grenades and the neurotoxin from the neurotoxin payload overclock on the autocannon. Neurotoxin was pretty much just a waste of time. There's no point in doing it. The autocannon can spread neurotoxin so quickly. It'd be like the same with shooting the neurotoxin magic bullets with a revolver. there's just not a reason to actually try to spread it to further enemies away. You can just fire the autocannon at them, since the autocannon also has splash damage. So that one I found was completely pointless. The fire, again, was kind of pointless. It's not hard to get fire onto enemies, especially if you just want to take like the hurricane and then just take the tier 5 mod that lets you put fire on it. So I didn't find it really useful there. I think that you can spread freeze to other enemies, which sounds a little bit useful, and it would be easier to line up because then you just have to line up through a frozen enemy that's not moving and hit other ones. Still, I feel like that's really unnecessary because a lot of the time when you hit something with the coil gun, it's probably going to die, at least any normal sized enemy, or it's going to be nearly dead. So applying fire or poison to it probably won't matter that much. Hitting bigger enemies and applying fire to them instantly could be useful, especially if you're trying to combo this together with teammates. It just seems like this is too much setup to really be worth it, though, to me. I'm sure that you could do some really crazy strats, like if you can freeze something and then shoot through it and hit a detonator and freeze it, that might be worthwhile. Or if you can shoot through a detonator and then catch it on fire or something like that, that could also be worthwhile. This one I was probably the most disappointed in, just because I feel like it does have some potential to be used in a team setting. In solo, it's probably not that great unless you can freeze a Praetorian with like Bosco's rocket and then shoot it through into an oppressor or into a detonator to potentially kill it with that so that it doesn't explode or so that it doesn't blow up into gas. Outside of that, maybe spreading fire to robots, but even then, that's going to be pretty difficult unless they're the turrets, which are already not too difficult for Gunner to take out. We'll have to see when this one goes live, but this one was by far the least impressive in my opinion. Then we move on to the unstables, and the first one is called Hellfire, and this one is really cool. This one lets you have a fire trail, so once you fire the gun, it fires normally, and then the trail behind it is all fire. It burns everything. It also has a little bit of a wider trail than it normally does, so you can catch more things on fire. This is really useful because the fire lingers for a very long time, and it builds up heat really quick. You can actually kill robots very fast because if you just fire directly at them or in the line that they're going and they start moving towards you or away from you, they will likely catch on fire and die. It's great for crowd control. The downsides for this one are that you have less ammo and you have a slower charge. Charge speed doesn't really matter, I found. It seemed to be okay because I was likely just pulling this out, firing it once, hitting things, putting it away, and then pulling out whatever my primary was and waiting for it to reload with Born Ready. The less ammo is noticeable, though. You don't have tons of shots with this one. It is great for crowds. It is great for single targets towards most enemies, so long as they are able to be caught on fire. Of course, on like Dreadnought missions, this one's not going to be way great, but on every other mission type, it seemed like it would be really good, and I found this one to be really useful. And then our last unstable overclock is called Triple Tech Chamber. This one lets you fire off the residue from one of your shots up to 2 times. So you can have 3 shots from this, but they have to be done in somewhat of a quick succession. They don't need to be, one right after the other. You can fire that way, but the recoil is very noticeable then. The downsides for this one is that it does have a longer reload, it has a slower charge time, and it does have stronger recoil. So you just firing 3 shots already has a lot of recoil. Firing 3 shots very quick with extra recoil makes it very difficult to control unless you're pretty much point blank. So you usually want to charge it up, fire it, and then wait a second, fire the second one, and then fire the third one as it comes down. I found this to be pretty consistent for killing most enemies. It felt great for hitting big things because you could hit them so easily multiple times. I did try using this with the less charge in tier 2 where you can fire it at any charge level. So you can fire it at 1 charge, 2 charge, or 3 charge, and then your follow-up shots will also be affected by that first shot's charge. That seemed fine too. This one felt really good. It felt great for taking out big things, and you don't need to fire out 3 shots. As soon as you fire one, it's not like it consumes all the ammo that you would have used, regardless if you fired those other 2 shots. If you just fire one and wait, then you'll just reload it normally. Same thing if you just fire 2 shots, you'll just reload it normally. So it does give you a lot of options, and I think this is probably one of the better overclocks for the coil gun. At least so far. Again, all these could be changed. This is just on the experimental build, and there was a big update just today, which, like I said, made my shard diffractor video pretty much outdated as soon as it came out. Hopefully this one doesn't get outdated immediately because tomorrow is the day where these officially come out. I'm filming this the day before. This will come out on the day of all of these weapons officially coming out, at least on the PC version. For console, it'll be on the 5th. So thank you guys so very much for watching this. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Tell me your thoughts on the coil gun and its overclocks as of right now. And special thanks to the supporters of this channel. These are my members over here on YouTube and my patrons over on Patreon. They get early access to videos like this. If you'd like to be a part of it, you can. There are links down in the description. Thanks everybody who does that. I really do appreciate it. And I will talk to you guys next time. Till then, take care and bye-bye.